I will go ahead and call to order the April 14th zoning administrator meeting for the City of Escondido. My name is Veronica Morones. I'm our Assistant Director of Development Services and Acting Zoning Administrator. Before we get started, I'm going to go around and ask everyone to state their name clearly for the record. If your name is challenging to spell, feel free to spell it out loud, as we'll have to annotate this in writing. And just state whether you're a member of the public or a representative of the applicant for the project today or a staff member. So, Ani, I'll have you start.
I'm Ani Orozco, and I'm a staff member.
Jesus Huerta, associate planner, staff member.
My full name is Richard Martin Miller. I'm representing the Templo Pentecostés La Hermosa.
I am the staff member at the Templo Pentecostés La Hermosa. My name is Manuel Corpino, C-O-R-P-E-N-O.
Thank you very much. That's everyone in the room. So we will go ahead and move on to our agenda items for today. We have a request for a minor conditional use permit for the expansion of an existing religious facility, a church, into a neighboring suite located at the corner of Washington and Ash. And I will go ahead and turn it over to Jesus Huerta to present on the item.
Thank you, Zoning Administrator. For the record, my name is Jesus Huerta, Associate Planner for the City of Escondido, and I am presenting on PL 25-0179, which is a request by applicant Templo Pentecostés La Hermosa for a minor conditional use permit to expand an existing church into a neighboring suite within the existing Washington Square shopping center. This site is bounded by East Washington Avenue to the north, North Ash Street to the east, North Beach Street to the east, North Ash Street to the west, North Beach Street to the east, and Escondido Creek to the south, and is addressed as 1131 East Washington Avenue. The shopping center has a general plan designation of specific planning area 16, East Valley specific plan, and is zone specific plan. The shopping center was developed in the 1970s and currently consists of several tenants and some freestanding businesses. The shopping center's governing document is East Valley specific plan, which provides a list of permitted and conditional permitted uses. Under the East Valley specific plan, the land use designation for the shopping center is urban 4/5. This land use designation does allow for churches, synagogues, and temples with the approval of a conditional use permit. Therefore, any religious facility or expansion of an existing religious facility would require a CUP within this designation. The applicant is proposing a conditional use permit to expand the existing church, currently located within the suite G and F, into suite H, which is approximately 1,190 square feet. Suite H is currently vacant, but was occupied by a dental office named Washington Dental. The existing church within Suite G and F is approximately 1,792 square feet, and by adding Suite H, the total square footage would be 2,982 square feet. The proposed floor plan indicates that 1,379 square feet of the church would be utilized for the gathering area, whereas the rest of the facility space would be utilized for office spaces, storage, and bathroom facilities. The operational plan for the church states that it would operate on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. On Sundays, religious services are held from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. with a total congregation of 75 adults and children. On Tuesdays, Bible studies held from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. with a total congregation of 77 adults and children. On Fridays, children's classes are held from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. with a total congregation of 83 adults and children. A maximum of 6 staff would be present during any of the 3 days of services. The church would not have any office hours or activities outside of the days and hours provided on the operational plan. As part of the city's review, staff reviewed and analyzed the project under the city's general plan and zoning requirements for the project. The project complies with all zoning and specific plan standards as discussed in the staff report. As part of the city's review, staff evaluated the amount of parking that is required for the shopping center and any potential impacts from the requested conditional use permit. Based on the shopping center calculation, the site has an excess of several space and is adequate to address the mix of uses in the center. Additionally, the project would operate outside the standard hours of the surrounding businesses, thus preventing potential conflict. While the project does include a physical expansion, it does not include a request to operate beyond the existing congregation size. This project has been conditioned to ensure operation of the church continues to operate outside of the operating hours of the surrounding businesses. Furthermore, any future expansion may result in a modification to the CUP to ensure no impacts of off-street parking. Conditions of approval have been included in the project to ensure compliance with the zoning code and all requirements. Based on the information in this presentation and as detailed in the staff report, staff recommends approval of the project and requests that the zoning administrator adopt resolution number 2026-04 approving the expansion of the church as conditioned. Staff and representatives of the applicant are present for any additional questions.
Thank you. So if the applicant would like to speak at all on the project, you're welcome to, but it isn't required.
I thank you very much, Madam Administrator. This is Martin Miller speaking for the record. We concur with staff's recommendation for approval. We would, however, request a minor modification to condition A2 in Exhibit D. Both Mr. Corpino and I have read over that condition, and the permit expiration date is in 2 years. That's what the body of this says. The first part refers to a tentative map or plan development, which has no bearing on the project. There's no nexus between that and the project. The second part, starting if not filed as concurrent with a if not filed as concurrent with a tentative map or plan development application, it goes on to say that the permit automatically expires after 2 years from the date of this approval. We're taking that at face value, and we request that the zoning administrator amend that to say either that there is no expiration date or that the applicant can submit a letter, a request to the city pursuant to municipal code and zoning ordinance, requesting an extension of X number of years. That's not allowed for in this first paragraph. The second paragraph ties the conditional use permit to the building permit, as it should. My background is in planning as well, and I've done this. I did this many times during my professional career, and I'm used to having conditions like that in zoning administrator as conditions of approval. But in the first paragraph, it is ambiguous at best if the intent is actually there for there to be no expiration date, or if the intent is actually for this permit to expire in 2 years. So I would request that the zoning administrator amend this, modify it to allow either there be no expiration date or that the church be allowed to come back in prior to expiration to request extension of the conditional use permit.
Anything else?
Not at this point, no.
Okay. If I may address your concerns for the record.
Please.
So condition A2 is a standard condition of approval as written by our city attorney's office. The way that this condition is applied to all projects is an if-then statement. If, comma, then.
Okay.
If you have a tentative map or a plan development permit, your expiration on putting the permit into effect is 36 months. If you do not have a tentative map or plan development permit, as in the case of your project, therefore all other permits, i.e. all other permit types, Your expiration time period to effect the permit is 2 years, 24 months, and that's pursuant to Article 61, Division 4, I believe, of the Zoning Code. I'm sorry, Division 1, conditional use permits.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Article 61?
Division 1, conditional use permits. So what that means is you have 2 years to enact your permit.
Mhm.
Your business is already operating as a legally non-conforming use. So to us, enacting the conditional use permit would be tied to the second paragraph of the building permit. I presume you've talked to our building services folks and you will require a tenant improvement, a building
Yes.
permit to knock down walls and expand
Yes.
the space?
A minor demolition permit and probably at least an electric permit for electrical sockets
Sure.
and things like that.
So what this condition means is at the time that you finalize at the time that you have obtained your building permits, which we consider issuance obtaining, you are allowed to move forward on the construction itself, and that permit is then finalized, you have enacted or put into effect your permit, and that 2-year period clock is done running. You then have a conditional use permit, which runs with the land, subject to Article 61, Division 1, which states a conditional use that's discontinued for 6 months or longer becomes a discontinued use. So what that would mean as a religious facility in this case is your conditional use permit is tied to your parcel, to your suites specifically on this parcel. So should your church decide to vacate that premise, the property owner, and I apologize if you are the property owner, but if you are not the property owner within 6 months could find a religious facility of your intensity or less and have them go in under your use permit.
Mhm.
If your religious facility chose to vacate that space and the property owner did not act within 6 months, the use permit becomes void, and a new religious facility seeking to go into that location would have to obtain a new use permit. So you do not have a 2-year timeline on this use permit before you have to come back and do this all again.
Okay.
It just means you need to pull your building permit within 2 years and get it issued. Does that help clarify for the record?
Reading it into the record does.
Okay.
In my professional, no, I'm not gonna go there. Okay. Yes, we're
Feel
happy with
free
this.
to send an email with your professional opinion, and we're happy to talk to our city attorneys
Okay.
about that.
And in fact, if I may, I do have suggested wording that I brought with me. May I provide that?
You may pass that, sure.
Okay.
But with that said, does the applicant still contest the condition, or are you satisfied with that explanation?
I'm
Which
satisfied with what she said. She gave me a very good,
It's read into the record.
exactly.
Yes.
So my mind got more open, because when I was reading that, I was, wait a minute, you know what? That means in 2 years, we're gonna have to.
we also don't want to do this in 2 years.
All right.
We want you to have your business and
Yeah, there's a level of bureaucracy needed, but you don't want to overdo it.
Yeah, we just want to do everything right. You know, we have a very good relationship with the fire department. We have our permits, state, federal, we have everything, and we've never had a problem in all these years that we've been here. We respect what they tell us to do, and,
Sure.
we're very happy, and,
Okay.
All right. I do have a couple of questions of the applicant's team, if you'll humor me. Some of them are standard, some of them are not.
Sure.
So my first standard question is, other than the condition we just discussed, which appears to be resolved based on our conversation, do you agree to all the conditions of approval as drafted for this project?
Yes.
Okay. My second question is, I would like to make sure that the applicant's team understands that the use permit does not expand your operational components intensification-wise. It expands your floor area into a new adjacent suite to continue operations as is in basically a larger floor area. Do you understand that?
Yes.
yes.
So if you chose to increase your congregation, increase the number of services, increase the number of children's classes, Bible study, you would be subject to having to come back and amend your conditional use permit. That may look like a similar hearing to this, depending on how big of a request that would be. Maybe you want to quadruple your congregation and services and class sizes. more than likely, you're looking at coming back to zoning administrator
Do
hearing.
you want to go over what we said?
Yeah.
Okay. We actually, may I?
Can I just finish my
Please.
one thought?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
But you do have a condition of approval. It's condition of approval A4C, which states, once a permit has been issued, in this case, if the use permit were to be approved, the applicant may request permit modifications. Minor modifications may be granted if found by the Director of Development Services to be in substantial conformity with the approved plan set. What that means is slight minor changes to your operational stance.
I'm sorry, you're citing A4C.
C.
I'm sorry, okay. I misheard.
That's okay. That condition allows staff the latitude for us to work with you on minor changes to your operations over time. Maybe you want to increase your congregation by 10% or less, or you decide to add one additional service because you're not necessarily increasing your congregation size, but you want to add flexibility for your existing congregants. That type of minor items would not necessarily require returning to this forum.
Okay.
They could be handled by the Director of Development Services.
Administrative, okay.
But large changes, large intensification that exceed the findings by staff on what was proposed may require you to return here at a future time. So I just want to make sure you are understanding of that.
Yes, we understand that.
Okay.
In fact, we took it a step further, and my client has indicated that if the church does grow by any significant amount, they would be looking for a new facility.
And we'd be
There's
happy.
no room for expansion here.
Sure.
Beyond
Where you're
the
at.
Suite H. The other suites next to it are operated by the market that's there, and there's just no room for expansion. So
Sure.
they would be looking for a new facility if that happened to them.
Okay. If that does occur, please feel free to come back to us and we can help you find properties that allow for your use.
Okay.
I would encourage you to anticipate a use permit will be required for a new location unless you found an existing church space where an existing church exists and they're vacating, then we may be able to transfer
Understood.
the use permit, but
Okay.
just be cognizant that another process like this would
Okay.
most likely be entailed
Okay.
for a different location.
Okay.
But okay, and then my final question is just that on the draft plan sets, there is a perspective drawing that shows over 200 seats on it. And that perspective drawing, I would just like to clarify, is not to scale. Is that correct? Because your operational plan shows a maximum number of congregants of, I think, 83 at a given time.
Yeah, it is not to scale. I don't believe it is, but I haven't. I need to confirm that with the person who's actually drawing these plans. I don't think it is off the top of my head.
So
Because just looking at the drawings in that perspective, it doesn't look like they would be. I'd have to play with it.
it's simply the lower right-hand corner item. So to be clear, your use permit does not permit for you to have 200 people within your congregation at this location. Based on the information you provided of a congregation of 83 folks, that's how we calculated your demand of traffic and circulation. So if you were to expand to 200 people, you would need to come back into the city and talk to us about amending your use permit. And that's what I want to make clear, is that the plans show a perspective with over 200 seats, but I want to make it very clear that that is not the extent at which your use permit is proposed or reviewed for.
Okay, understood that one.
Okay.
Very clear on that one now.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll talk to Paul.
Yeah, I'm clear on that now.
That's not to say that you can't have 200 at a future point. It's just not being permitted under this use permit.
Understood.
And we'd need to kind of redo this process with an
Understood.
anticipation of what that traffic demand might bring.
Yeah, understood. Me and
Okay.
him were talking about that, and, we will respect as a church, what's been told to us.
And we want to
And
work with
We
you.
would not, overdo anything that would harm us, or, because we want to have a good relationship with the city.
Absolutely.
We've been there going on 15 years, so,
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's good to know now, and, you know, I'm probably the head of the members there with my pastor, so I give them the information at the end, so thank you for letting me know that this is something that
Yeah,
my mind's
we'll make
open
that
now.
correction.
Yes, and again, it doesn't mean at a future point you couldn't have that necessarily, given limitations by obviously health and safety occupancy as well. It's just what we calculate, our analysis on traffic, circulation, parking, etc., involves the number of people you anticipate having, maximum load you anticipate having at your services and at your ancillary services like the children's classes. And so that's why we ask for your max number of congregants. Again, if you decide that is something you want to expand to, you'd come back, talk to Jesus, and we'd get you in the pipeline to get that addressed. Doesn't mean you can't have it at a future point. It just, I want to make sure for the record you understand that that drawing in the corner of your plans does not constitute an allowance for 200 folks.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so those are all my questions. Thank you very much. I'll open the public hearing for public comment, but seeing as how there are no members of the public here, I will now close it. Jesus, did we receive any public comments on this project?
No.
All right. So then with that, I will state for the record that I have reviewed all of the documentation, the staff report, the findings, the resolution, along with the proposed plans and operational components of the project and the conditions. And given the applicant's information that they've provided to address my questions this afternoon, I will go ahead and move to approve the minor conditional use permit for the religious facility PL 250179 located at 1131 East Washington Avenue. And with that, I will go ahead and then adjourn this meeting at 2:22 p.m.
Very good.
Thank you.